I'm part of a research team employed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture with the intent of advancing the Green Revolution through the development of a new hybrid corn. Test yields have been phenomenal, and the intent is to introduce this new strain in areas that are experiencing severe hunger problems. Who produces the most corn? There is no particular place on Earth whose soil, climate, and topography are undoubtedly the best at producing corn, but those aspects needed for corn success can be found in Mexico and Central America, also known as the Mesoamerican region, but we're focusing on Mexico. Corn flourishes in the temperate, semi-dry, and humid area of Mexico. The flatness of the land is also very conducive to corn growth. Corn originated more than 7,000 years ago in ancient Mexico and Middle America. There are many different methods of irrigating corn. The most popular and traditional ways are localized irrigation, which includes center pivot and stationary sprinklers, surface irrigation, sub-irrigation, and lateral move irrigation. A comparatively new method that has been recently introduced to more poor countries is the drip irrigation method, which minimizes water waste, therefore acting as one of the most energy, money, and resource-efficient methods of irrigation. This is a picture of lateral move irrigation. This is more commonly seen in prosperous countries such as the United States rather than Mexico, but it is found in some areas of Mexico. Center pivot and sprinkler irrigation are very cheap and found all throughout the world. These are most likely to be seen in fields that have circular patches of corn. Surface irrigation is the most basic form of irrigation, and it's where the entire field is flooded by groundwater. This is most likely what was used when corn was first cultivated in ancient Mexico. Drip irrigation has been around since the 1800s, but has only just found its way into poor countries such as Mexico, and as it's more energy efficient and water efficient, it would serve very well for Mexican farmers to use. Corn plays a very important role in Mexican diets and cultures. The New York Times quoted a Mexican farmer who said, "This is the birthplace of maize, where people took thousands of years to domesticate its wild ancestor, where pre-Hispanic myths describe it as a gift from the gods, and where cooks prepare it in dozens of ways to be served at every meal." He continued to say, "For us, maize is in everything. Tamales, tacos, tortillas, pozole," said Miguel Ramirez, a local teacher who is active in community affairs. "For us, it's sacred." There are some political implications that could arise if we were to introduce our new strain of corn. Possibly it could be rejected on the basis of the corn's genetic alterations. Different strains that have been genetically modified have previously been viewed negatively by the Mexican government because of its possible health effects. Farmers who imported corn didn't only eat the corn, but grew it from the United States, and this corn was genetically modified. This has been going since the 1960s. But since then, the government has forced farmers to label corn as organic or genetically modified. There are also the traditionalists who prefer original corn for two reasons. Because of cultural appreciation, as in this is the original corn that was found in Mexico, and the possible health effects that the government warns of. But these health effects are actually minimalistic and can hardly be seen. Importing this new strain of corn, which would have a tolerance to heat and insects and produce a higher yield, would provide an economic boost by removing the need for any imported corn, mainly from the United States. This would possibly provide enough corn not just to support their own population, but for exports as well, which would boost the job market, the financial economy, and promote financial freedom. The New York Times reported in 2008 that in Mexico City, tens of thousands of farmers clogged the streets of the capital to protest the end of tariffs on corn from the United States, warning that the elimination of trade barriers could drive them out of business and lead more Mexicans to migrate north. Since these 2008 trade barriers have been taken off, there has been a significant increase in imports from the United States, detracting from the Mexican economy. Here I have a graph or a table showing the amount of corn imported each year into Mexico. In 1960, you start with 61,000 metric tons of corn, and it fluctuates a bit, but it's steadily increasing. In 2011, there were 9,800,000 metric tons of corn imported to feed their population. On the graph, you can see it does vary a bit, but the general trend is positive. The resources I used were Wikipedia for areas such as corn, Mexican culture, and irrigation. The New York Times provided me a wonderful insight on the view of the Mexican farmer. North Dakota State University provided information on corn and corn farming, and Index Monday provided my information on the chart and the graph. With our new corn strain, it could possibly improve the Mexican economy so much that we would eliminate the majority of the hunger in Mexico and boost their economy to make them a more independent country.